So I've been supporting Earthling Ed on Patreon pretty much since I went vegan. I give him $5 a month. And I think he probably uses his money wisely. I mean, he's got the sanctuary, he's opening restaurants, he has an organization, he has to pay staff. But I don't know what he's spending his money on, right? Like, he doesn't post receipts, he's not super transparent about it. So I'm thinking about canceling my Patreon for him, just because if I want people to be transparent, then I should try to support people who are transparent.
Over the past year or so, a very prevalent narrative has begun to emerge, which is that veganism is in decline. But is this actually true?
This is Google Trend data showing you the level of interest in animal rights. Why don't you interpret the trend for me? Why don't you tell me long term if that looks like it's going up or going down?
Over the past 12 to 24 months or so, there has been a decline in the sales of plant-based meats, and there have also been brands that have pulled certain plant-based products from the shelves. So if we establish that there has been a drop-off in the plant-based alternatives market, well then surely that's that, right?
The last time I raised this topic for serious in-depth discussion on my channel was about 3 years ago. And the only counter-argument I received was, but look at how well these for-profit companies are doing. Look at how well these vegan companies are doing on the stock market. I had more than one rebuttal to offer in response to that point. But for those of you who believed this self-serving myth, let me ask you, if you thought this was proof that the vegan movement was successful and the vegan movement was growing when the value of this stock was on the way up, what do you make of it now that it's on the way down?
So has the vegan bubble burst? Well, what is true is that certain plant-based companies have had a tough year or so, and that sales have decreased in plant-based categories. But the success of veganism is not determined solely by plant-based meat.
If you're going to make quantitative claims in the social sciences, you have to calibrate them. If you're going to point the finger at a chart like this and say this is extraordinary, you have to compare it to something else to give a sense of what ordinary might be. Here is the level of public interest in defunding the police. You can see there was really just one brief moment when this notion captured public's attention, and then within a year or two, it had petered out. The yellow vest movement, similar sort of pattern. Here's the pattern for feminism. Notice that it hit a peak in January of 2017, and it has declined now. But still, it's a pretty lively sort of line you're looking at with feminism as a movement. Do you see a whole lot of life in this line? That's animal rights. That seems pretty hopeless, doesn't it?
Now, interestingly, a survey published at the start of this year showed that in the UK in 2023, 1.1 million more people became vegan, and a further 2 million people intend to adopt a plant-based diet in 2024.
What's the difference between being a vegan and being a climate change denier? It's that we tell the truth, right? Right? Someone like Earthling Ed, he wouldn't make up or knowingly use a statistic that cannot possibly be true, right? What if you know? What if you know what I know? What if you know that Earthling Ed just intentionally used a statistic that he must be aware is wrong? There are 1 million Hindus in the United Kingdom. 1 million adherents of the Hindu faith. You meet them everywhere. You're not intentionally trying to find them in London, in Manchester, in Glasgow, in Cardiff. You're not out looking for them. You meet them driving the bus. You meet them sitting in the bus. You meet them on the university campus. You meet them inside the hospital. Hindus are your doctors and lawyers, as well as being your taxi drivers that you encounter every day in the United Kingdom. And there are just 1 million of them. Earthling Ed just quoted a bullshit study that I debunked on this channel more than 2 weeks ago. claiming that there are 2.5 million vegans in the United Kingdom, comprising 4.7% of the population and rising. That's wildly implausible. It is a source he knows to be false. This is a corrupt multi-millionaire leader in the vegan movement who is lying to you intentionally.
Now look, we should obviously take surveys like this with a pinch of salt, but even if there might be a margin of error within the numbers, it is interesting that there is an indicator of a significant rise in the number of people going vegan, while at the same time we are being told that the vegan bubble has burst.
Now, interest in veganism is not quite the same thing as interest in animal rights, and that's why this chart shows a more modest decline. And if, for the sake of your pride, you would like to insist that it is merely stagnating rather than declining, please answer this very simple binary question. Is it increasing? Is it growing? You know the answer is no. Therefore, the movement is failing. And we have to address our philosophies. We have to address our political strategies to a movement that is in a period of decline, following after several successive years of failure.
I got just one comment on my channel yesterday that basically said, in not particularly polite words, that I was incredibly ugly and that I only held the political views that I do because I'm so ugly. This isn't the first time I've heard such a thing on the internet, but I really thought, wow, it's been years. Like, when was the last time someone said some of this to me? And as I cast my mind back, I remembered back in the year 2016, I used to hear that all the time. I heard it from my fellow vegans in 2016 and 2017. Now, I don't think I'm the most attractive person in the vegan movement. I'd like to take some time right now to mention the names of some guys I really do think are much more attractive than I am. Men who competed with me for a position of leadership, power, and authority here in the vegan movement, and men who competed by the same rules I play by here on YouTube, sharing their political philosophy, asking for your support, asking for your time and interest. Timothy Sheaf, Tim Sheaf, formerly known as the Vegan Prince, good-looking guy, very attractive guy, much more attractive than I am. John Venus, very attractive guy, much more attractive than I am. James Aspie, matter of taste, matter of perspective. I mean, it depends on whether you're looking up at him or looking down at him, I suppose. Very, very attractive guy. And you know what? A little bit of an acquired taste. But Gary Yourofsky, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Gary Yourofsky is more handsome than I am. Very attractive guy. Look at what happened to the vegan movement in the last 5 years. Look ahead to the next 5 years and start asking yourself serious questions about where this is going, why it is that the tactics we used in the past failed, who our leaders are, who they should be, and why.
Ain't no school for this shit. Ain't no school for this shit. You gotta be smart enough to pick up the information as you go. If you can find a nigga that can tell you that I own something, I'll give him whatever you say I own. But, cause I can't remember a nigga doing nothing for me, nigga.